Hello, everyone. This is Justin Roberti. Welcome. How are you? Thank you so much for joining us today. Welcome to our stream. We're going to be talking about the nexus of Web3 and AI, specifically using blockchain pay rails to facilitate payments between agentic AI. I think AI is potentially the use case that blockchain has been waiting for a minute now. We could use the win in the blockchain space, to be completely honest, and we provide some of the safety rails and the ability to transact directly between agents that AI doesn't have without us. So on that note, we're going to have MoonPay come and join us today, which is fantastic. We're going to be talking to their head of Agentic AI, whose name is Kevin Arifin. And but first, let's go ahead and do a little bit of a news read before we get into that. So right now, AI agents are starting to move from answering questions to buying things: data tools, API calls, compute, search, verification, and access. The big shift is from pre-funded API accounts to utility-style pricing, where an agent can discover a service, compare options, pay for it, and use it at runtime. X402 is emerging as one of the key open standards for this agentic payment layer, with the Linux Foundation-backed X402 Foundation bringing together crypto payments, cloud, and web infrastructure players. So bigger and bigger players getting into this. Honestly, there's so many big names on here. The idea behind it is simple but strange. The old web had 402 payment required status code that never really became mainstream because card fees made tiny payments, micropayments as we used to call them, uneconomic. AI agents may finally make that old idea useful. Visa's Agentic Payments report separates the market into two buckets. The report came out about 2 days ago. You should check it out, folks. Larger macro purchases that look like normal e-commerce, and tiny machine-to-machine payments for APIs, data, compute, and software services. If you're looking at like a decentralized agentic AI ecosystem, you can imagine a whole bunch of bots who are sharing compute and are making microtransactions between the two of them to share that compute. That is the decentralized model that we had Tufi Saliba talking about last week from Hypercycle. Great discussion. A big topic for me. Those tiny payments are where the old system starts to break. Card rails can work for normal purchases, but sub-dollar machine speed payments need lower cost, more flexible rails. Trust is still the hard part. If an AI agent buys the wrong thing, follows a malicious prompt, spends money badly, gets duped for some reason or another, the industry still has to answer who is responsible: the user, the platform, the model builder, or the merchant. Traditional payment rails are not disappearing. Cards, ACH, RTP, PayPal, Swift, messaging, PayPal and Swift for that matter, highly expensive options. And blockchains all solve different payment problems, from global payouts to real-time settlement to low-cost transactions. The likely future is not crypto replaces everything. It's multi-rail payments where AI agents use the best rail for the task: cards for familiar commerce, stablecoins, or crypto rails for machine-native transactions, and traditional systems where they still fit. So in a lot of cases, whatever's using crypto, that might actually be your agentic AI doing micropayments to other AI bots. And MoonPay is pushing that future into the AI apps already in use. MoonPay agents now live on Claude by Anthropic, making MoonPay the first crypto on-ramp live across Claude, Grok, Perplexity, and ChatGPT, with users able to connect wallets, buy crypto, and move value on-chain without leaving the conversation. We're going to have Kevin Arifin come and join us for MoonPay. MoonPay is building out crypto buying, wallet connection, and online transactions directly into major AI assistants, turning that chat window into a possible front door for digital money. So let's go ahead and get Kevin up here. All right, let's go ahead and add Kevin. Oh, sorry. Kevin, how are you today, man?
Doing well. Thank you for having me, Justin.
Welcome. It's great to have you on. MoonPay, obviously a very big name in the blockchain space. What do you see as the triggering thing, as the impetus to step into the AI world, and how long have you guys been at it?
Yes, we've been at it for about 8 months now, and I think the impetus for this is, many of you know MoonPay as the on-ramp company converting your fiat to crypto, the easiest way to bring your money on chain, but really MoonPay's vision has evolved beyond that. MoonPay likes to call themselves as the operating system for value. And when you think about an operating system, operating systems have users. In the past, it was a human sitting behind the keyboard using Windows, Mac OS, and so forth. But I think the most important operators of the future are agents. And when you think about an operating system for value, we're building for agents as those operators, not just humans sitting behind a keyboard. And I think what we've seen the problem and challenges with crypto UX in particular, you get a 3x5 pop-up whenever you want to use a dApp, or you have embedded wallets that are silos of value. And really, as an operating system for value, we really want to make value movement seamless across any blockchain, across fiat to crypto, and within crypto to crypto as well.
In your opinion, do AI and blockchain need each other? One being probabilistic, the other one deterministic. I've heard some fairly compelling arguments that that blockchain is perfectly positioned to fix what is kind of risky about AI agents right now.
Yes, definitely. I think the huge unlock for LLMs and agents in general is really the tool use concept, really giving LLMs a computer. And blockchain is essentially this giant computer that anyone can access. And I think it provides three things for LLMs and agents in general. One is it's a public database, so anyone can access that data, read that data, and get insights from what's going on chain across every blockchain. The second is writing to that data. It is has a universal right to the blockchain, which essentially is a transaction. If you can make a transaction, then you can make changes to that public database. And then the third is a huge piece, which is authentication. Wallets, essentially key pairs, your public and private key, allow agents to self-authenticate themselves to actually take action on this public computer. So I think that's where that harmony is between LLMs, agents, and the blockchain is they have the ability to read, access any piece of information, write to that same computer, and then also be authenticated and allowed to write to that computer. And we see those loopholes or kind of mistakes, I guess, or challenges within the existing Web 2 space where we're still kind of trying to figure out that read, write, and authenticate system for Web 2.
All right, definitely. You know, and I know you have a demo for us. I think folks at home that it's actually just a great opportunity to kind of put eyes on how this process works. It all gets very abstract. We talk about independent or semi-autonomous AI agents transacting between each other. Let's go ahead and take a look at, explain to us what you're showing us and walk us through a little bit of a demo with this. Are you ready?
Yes, I'm happy to present.
Right,
and just I'll share screen. Share my entire screen.
Okay.
All right, showing up on screen?
Nope, it's not showing up. Okay. We can go ahead and skip past it if we need to.
Are you not seeing
nope.
I think
don't
it's
see it.
There
I am many times.
There
okay. Yeah, okay. Go ahead, show us.
Yeah, happy to. Okay, so this is the Moon Agents desktop app. And when we were talking about MoonPay as this operating system for value, there's a lot of pieces to what you can do within MoonPay that a lot of people don't even know about. Of course, we can go from fiat to crypto. But then once you have wallets, what wallets do I have? Let's start there and what tokens are in there. So what the Moon Agents desktop app is, it combines instructions for your LLMs, like how to use MoonPay and this whole suite of tools that MoonPay provides, from virtual accounts, going from fiat to crypto, going cross-chain across any blockchain, from Solana, Robinhood chain to multiple 9 other blockchains as well. And providing the tools to do that, that's provided through the MoonPay CLI, which has all of those tools kind of baked into one place. And then the third is really plugging into a harness that you are already used to working with. In this case, we have support for Claude Code and Codex. So if you have an existing Claude Code or Codex ChatGPT account, you just sign in with that specific account, and you're immediately able to use that harness with the full suite of MoonPay tools. So what I'm walking you through right now is I've asked my LLM to kind of figure out what's in my wallet. I have a bunch of wallets that I've spun up with this specific tool that I use on a day-to-day basis to do research on new chains, to look up kind of what's going on in the market and meme coins as well, to browse X, and it plugs in with your existing service. So you can build software and kind of use the deterministic tools that MoonPay provides in an environment that you're comfortable with.
Okay. All right. Well, you want to go ahead and walk us through a transaction?
Yeah. So this agent's we're working through right now. So actually, I know I'll stop it. I'm gonna ask it actually to what's trending on Robinhood. Okay. And I know Robinhood chain has been very popular. So we've seen a lot of guides for like, hey, how do you bridge to Robinhood chain? How do you move value to that chain? And really, the easiest way is, why don't you just ask your agent? So it's actually going to do a little bit of exploratory research on what Robinhood chain is going, what's trending right now on Robinhood chain. So we have virtual cash cat, of course, is able to tell me that it's minus 40% on the day. So giving me some overall overview of what's going on. So of course, everyone knows what cash cat is. So let's bridge over and buy some cash cat, 10 USDC worth, take from a Solana wallet I funded already. So it's gonna figure out that I have 10 USDC in one of these wallets that I funded already. And the cool part is, just want to add that the wallets are stored locally on your computer. MoonPay never touches those keys. They're stored encrypted using an open wallet standard, and the LLM can never pull those keys out and start going rogue with it. The transactions are signed and sent in the background, so you don't have a 3x6 pop-up or 3x5 pop-up to approve that transaction. And looks like here it's actually getting me a quote, this cross-chain path for it found the specific cash cat contract address and the Solana USDC address, and it's going to give me a quick quote. And it's a single step bridge, easy. And looks like 15, I'll get 15 cash cat per USDC. It gives me a little quote, and then let's just use consensus demo and go for it. So I didn't have to open a Robinhood wallet account. I didn't have to fund a new wallet. I have a bunch of existing wallets already that are funded here. I don't even have to bridge ETH over to Robinhood chain. I can just do a cross-chain swap directly from a wallet that I already have. So it's going to bridge USD Solana to Cashcat on Robinhood. Have the Solana transaction already done, and then it's going to verify that transaction went through. And I'm going to ask it, check what tokens I have in that wallet once I'm done, or once you're done. Perfect. So it swapped 10 USDC for 157 CashCat. I'm going to confirm what other tokens I have on my Robinhood wallet. Looks like I have CashCat and some Marion, which I think is the first meme coin on Robinhood as well. So just kind of showcasing that, hey, this is way easier than going to Uniswap, going into Robinhood wallet, finding a different app, bridging over into a new wallet, and learning what that new chain is. You can really just talk to your agent, get a feel for what's going on that chain. And this type of interface really abstracts away blockchain as not just, hey, what are these specific blockchains? What are the different, what is like an EVM chain? What is an SGM chain? It's all just value. And we're able to seamlessly move across all of these with just natural language.
And we've been saying it for years, but I guess for MoonPay, it's absolutely true with the direction you're taking your product. That essentially digital assets are just becoming another asset class, because I mean, Robinhood will handle some subset of crypto or digital assets, but they'll also deal in a lot of traditional assets. So I imagine you're looking at this as being kind of a crossover, if I'm not mistaken.
Yes, yes. And any asset now that's on chain becomes part of this ecosystem. Everything is kind of the same interface essentially that I can interact with. And you can see here actually it pulled up various things I have in my Solana wallet, including a lot of pre-stocks, pre-IPO stocks, X stocks that are supported on Solana. Everything, since everything is now tokenized, the LLM likes to work in the digital world. When all these things are in the digital world, not sitting in some third-party server, then it's a lot easier for the LLM to interact with and kind of treat everything as the same asset. And that's really the magic of blockchain showcased here.
Why don't we go ahead and take the demo off the screen? Unless it shows, there we go. We'll go ahead and take that off the screen.
I'll come back.
Do AI and blockchain need each other? This is something I'm fond of saying that they do. What's your opinion of that? Are these just two hot technologies staying next to each other, or do they have, kind of a real future in terms of improving upon each other's capabilities?
Yeah, I think AI is the interface layer that blockchain has always needed. And when we talked about this, like read, write, and authenticate, no, I had to do zero authentication to start trading on Robinhood chain. And if you compare that to the existing experiences with I'm using ChatGPT or I'm using Claude, I have to set up an MCP server. I have to go through several steps just to authenticate that, hey, I own this specific Robinhood account, or I own this specific centralized exchange account. And that's fine for a lot of users. But if we're talking about this completely seamless experience where I'm interacting with an agent in natural language, blockchain is that computer for agents that allow them to read, write, and also actually do things because they're authenticated through wallets and private keys associated with that wallets. And that's really that synergy that I see with AI and blockchain.
So what's special about the Claude integration? Claude is very popular, plays a very strong role with people who use it to code, for example. I know that they've kind of taken a leadership position in that area, although OpenAI is trying to compete. How does that compare? How does integrating with Claude through MCP compare with integrating with OpenAI? Why do all these assistants need the ability to transact and not just answer questions and collaborate?
Yeah. So Claude and OpenAI, I think, are very similar in that they're this they just provide a natural language interface, and all these LLMs, they want to learn and they want to use tools. Right now, the challenge is that they're stuck in OpenAI servers, in Claude servers, and aren't able to actually do things because they run on their computers. A gateway out of that is MCP servers, and things that we've exposed through the MCP servers are the ability to check out with MoonPay via a buy link. And the second step beyond that, that's kind of a gateway into, hey, can I use my LLM to actually transact now? That's what the Moon Agents desktop app is about, is taking unleashing your LLM, giving access to private keys and authenticated private keys with value that then allow Claude and Codex or ChatGPT to actually take action beyond just, hey, let's on-ramp. Once we've on-ramped, what do we do? And we have now, like you mentioned, a lot of digital assets that are RWAs, meme coins, like DeFi lending. All of these things kind of provide the user infinite choice about how they want to move their money. And that natural language interface allows you to really grok and understand, how do I use perps? How do I use DeFi lending? And instead of having to build a custom interface for everything, the LLM can meet the user where they are and where their crypto journey is, and actually help them work through what are all the possibilities I can do to move my money and invest my money, grow my money, and then accumulate and spend it as well in the future.
As I'm sure you're very aware of, anytime you've got some sort of disruptive technology, one of the biggest hurdles to jump over is to get users to actually change their behavior in terms of how they interact with the technology they use every day. What needs to be in place in order for users on a mainstream basis, not just folks who are already into DeFi, already well familiar with MoonPay's brand and so forth, and digital assets? How are we going to get the normies to be willing to use this? What has to be in place in terms of guaranteeing their privacy, guaranteeing the safety of their transaction, or that they aren't risking somehow access to their wallet, et cetera, et cetera. What's your approach to that?
Yeah, so I think we look at the great examples in kind of the finance and finance space, like fintech space, really in general, as examples of this, and merging it with like the best examples that we've seen in the AI space. And of course, everyone likes to see Robinhood as kind of this, the prime example of a great user experience with using finance. And we've learned from that experience. And we, of course, ChatGPT and Claude are kind of the prime examples of like, hey, what are the best AI experiences out there right now? And we're merging those two in I think what I've showed you with the Moon Agents desktop app, in that Robinhood becomes much more difficult to use. Even iOS becomes much more difficult to use as you throw in more and more features. And that's what's happening with all of software right now. It's becoming more and more complex. And on the AI side, AI allows you to handle that complexity and essentially design an interface or communicate an interface to the user that meets them exactly where they are. And with the Moon Agents desktop app, every single skill, every single instruction manual for new feature, whether we're adding new prediction markets, where we're adding like perps or other assets that are a little bit more complex, the LLM allows you to meet the user where they are, where it's like, hey, I've never touched crypto in my life. I can explain to you what different blockchains are, what it means to convert from fiat to crypto. And all the guardrails that MoonPay has already put in place, whether it's KYC guardrails, funding guardrails, transaction guardrails, and making the LM a little bit more conservative, especially if you're not as familiar with the product, that allows the user to feel comfortable with that. And then when the user is a much more professional user, they can enable things like automations, skills, create artifacts, visuals for everything that they've done on chain. That makes the LM not just a guide, but a kind of a superpower for them to navigate the blockchain itself.
So before we wrap up, give me your vision for the future here, Kevin. How, if I'm an average degen or a crypto Twitter kind of user watching this on stream or watching this on YouTube and so forth, or if I'm not coming from the digital asset environment, how is this affecting my day-to-day? How am I using this? Describe we want to describe the grass, not just the grass seed after all, right? So when all of this is in place and all pistons firing as they should, how does this work out for us? What does this enable me to do?
Yeah. I think I always think about AI as like democratizing access to whatever we're talking about that AI has been applied to. I love the self-driving example. Everyone can now get a self-driving chauffeur for $100 a month, right? And in the past, if we look at examples of what finance has looked like, you would call a broker, that broker would give you financial advice. That broker's job was to study the market, understand what's going on. And at this point, there's no broker that knows everything that's going on in the market, because there's so many asset classes. There's things that are on-chain, things that are off-chain, things that are a hybrid of both. But now everyone can have this broker that knows everything, that can run the research that you want to do, that you can call up, that you can text, and then trade into any asset class that you want. And that's really the future of finance, is giving everyone access to that personal broker that you used to call up at Schwab or Fidelity, but now it sits on your computer, learns the context of how you want to trade, what kind of risks that you want to take, and makes every single asset seem like just like I'm trading quarters for dollars. I'm just going back and forth between various asset classes seamlessly.
And it's handling all of the back end for you. So you don't have to switch between chains. You don't have to worry about doing the translation. And hopefully you don't, the self-driving car example, hopefully without the crashes though. We've had a couple of notable examples of Elon's self-driving taxis performing in aberrant ways that involve running into things. So hopefully not that kind of chauffeuring. Where should people find out more about this? Where should people look to find out more about MoonPay?
Yeah, this product is live today, and it's at moonpay.com/agents. You can download the DMG or the app itself and sign in with your existing Claude Code or Codex subscription, and you can start moving your money on autopilot, have that personal broker learn the blockchain with you and start trading digital assets.
Right. Excellent. Well, Kevin, it has been great having you on. Thank you so much for coming and showing us what you guys have been working on. We look forward to hearing more from MoonPay. You've had a lot of releases this year. Albeit, I think it's great that you're tracking so much with AI. I kind of think that's what a lot of blockchain is going to need to do. So congratulations, and we look forward to hearing more about it.
Yep. Thank you so much for having us, Justin.
All right. Thank you, sir. You take care. All right, so we'll go ahead. Yeah, there we go. Go ahead and remove. And so thank you, Kevin from MoonPay, for coming in and talking to us. He is the head of Agentic AI at MoonPay. I love the forward-looking way that they're innovating here. I think it's just really the smart thing to do. I don't know if anybody else hang out in the blockchain space has noticed, but really we aren't the hottest kids in the block anymore. We aren't the most cutting-edge technology anymore. You can tell by people's attitude about us. We need this use case in a lot of ways. We need to be kind of centered along with something that's really going to help improve people's lives, which is why we're getting into our next panel, which is building the plumbing for AI payments. And I've got two guests that I've had on my show before, in the old iterations of my show. We got Jesse Shrader from Amboss and Dylan Dewdney from Kuvi coming on. So let's go ahead and bring them up. Welcome, gentlemen. So great to have you on the show.
Hey, thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure to join you.
It's great to have you. So, how do you feel about, Jesse, how do you feel about all of these, bigger players that are, especially in the payments space, not only MoonPay, but the Visas of the world, even Robinhood, PayPal, who are, jumping much more wholeheartedly into digital assets with an eye on becoming, AI involved or agentic AI involved. Go ahead.
It's extremely important that companies are positioned to be prepared for where the economy is headed. And I think if you look at any of the reports for where transactions are going, the agentic economy is going to be one of the juggernauts in the future economy. And so it's very important that companies position for that, be prepared with their payment infrastructure, and be ready to start accepting payments from agents. That's going to be where most of the transactions are in the future.
Definitely. So when people say that AI agents need payment rails, what does that actually mean underneath? Wallets, routing, liquidity, settlement, identity, all of it?
Yeah, I think what blockchain and all of those different pieces enable is just open participation. Because we don't need personhood, but we do need the ability to settle payments at a very low cost and a very high rate. The agentic economy is going to involve more transactions than we've ever seen before. And so you really have to be thinking about scalability. And we know that blockchains are fundamentally limited at how much data they can process. I know we've got ongoing debates for Bitcoin about what type of data can fit in there. How do we keep it open and decentralized? And that's causing a real move towards payment channel networks that we've seen with Stripe and Tempo for their approaches to really scale this out. And that involves liquidity. So that's where that falls to create that payment channel network that unlocks the larger scalability.
Definitely. Dylan, I want to go over to you too. From the agent side, when should AI actually be allowed to spend money? What makes a transaction useful instead of just a potentially expensive hallucination with a wallet?
AI should be allowed to spend money when it's following the intent of the user, right? And I think that's axiomatic because, no matter if you're working in some business or you're just an individual, it should always be sitting downstream from the intent of the users. The understanding of the intent of the user vis-a-vis agentic payments or just agents doing anything with finance or value is really like, it's the crux. It's like it's almost, I would say it's the most important thing, if not if not one of and is insofar as it's following the intent of the user. If that is satisfied, then that is really all that matters. The payments themselves and the ability of agents to do payments like that itself is kind of like that's pretty much solved. It's all the stuff around it that is actually much more complex and much more difficult, and we'll need to, over the next few years, likely we'll need to tease that out. But absolutely, there's no question that when it comes to at least the convergence of AI and blockchain, we're sitting in this like really perfect storm. And someone that I'm acquainted with, who I just really admire, his name's Eric Voorhees, but I think he wrote on Twitter the other day, he's like, maybe we didn't even realize like that we were building this not actually for humans, like all this blockchain stuff. We're actually building it for the machines. And that being said, it's still a great segue to go back to humans, because we still have to make sure that the intents are being understood correctly. So if you want to just buy a jar of peanut butter, let's make sure that that's one jar of peanut butter and it's not 100, just to use a really quotidian example, like,
sure.
And that's really like, that's the essence of it as far as I'm concerned.
What do you think of all these movements with the MoonPays of the world, the Robinhoods of the world, Visa, for example, getting in on these AI payments? Are we moving into a world where, bots are doing far more transactions than humans?
I think we will be moving into a world where where that's happening a lot more. I think that there are some clear use cases that make a lot of sense to me, like microtransactions, maybe like inference payments, some like server payment, like all these little like small little relatively deterministic things that oftentimes a human in the loop kind of needs to be a part of a little bit, to like send this here and send that there. Sure. That I think that's all probably going to go away and will be subsumed by agentic AI. And I think that that's a great near-term use case. I think that there are some complexities to be solved when it comes to like, payments that maybe seem to be like, I would call it, I don't even know this word, automatable. It seemed to be automatable, but nevertheless, like they may be beholden to like all of the nuts and bolts of like a business, or things that could go wrong. Like if, for example, there's somebody sitting behind an invoice that needs to be paid every month. And maybe it's like pretty much the same month to month, but like 1 month it so happens that like something happens with your production, and you can't, like, there's no, like, you don't want to do that, right? Like you have to indicate that to the, like, that all of that stuff sits in the like the messy, wet world of humans, right? And understanding that this happened and that happened. And
definitely, it's a great point. Let me go
on, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I think your audio blocked out for a second there. You just, I'm sorry, summarize your last sentence again, because I think I lost it.
I think it'll be a it will ultimately always be a hybrid,
right?
In my opinion, and autonomy will just is usually a bad idea. If I can just be usually
pure autonomy.
Usually,
it's honestly autonomy. It's good to hear you say it. Like I'm a big fan of AI. Don't get me wrong. But the gun ho, all full steam ahead kind of attitude, particularly of big tech AI this year, little freaky. I don't, they're implying a lot of things that I don't think are quite there yet. So it's great. Honestly, I feel like the Web3 people, blockchain people have a little bit more of a measured view of it. Also, the ability to control some of these risk areas. Let me go back over to Jesse. I know that what you guys are doing over at Amboss is, Lightning network based. It was built for fast, low cost payments. What changes when the payer is software making decisions in real time and not a human clicking send?
Well, the whole point of this is to enable open participation.
Right.
So what I just did just the other day was to use a bot called OriBot, and it did my shopping for me. So
Right.
it was time to update my wardrobe. So it found a compatible style that worked for me, and then suggested, hey, you should purchase this one. And then sent me a Lightning invoice. So I was able to pay that with Cash App or Strike, or just an open Lightning invoice that's broadly compatible, and I was able to make a purchase. So really, it's removing shopping from the things that I have to do, and that's like OriBot is pulling from an index of what's now 81,000 possible endpoints of places that you can pay using Lightning payments. So it really is part of an open ecosystem.
Right, definitely. How do you think it's going to impact? But by the way, I want to follow up. When it shop for clothes for you, it made recommendations. But to Dylan's point, it didn't make those. It didn't just buy them independently, because you could have done that. You could be like, just buy whatever jumper you think is necessary, robot. But that's not what you did.
That's not what I did. It prepared and gave me an estimate of how much this is going to cost, and included shipping and all of those different aspects. However, also the other day, I just burned through a whole bunch of tokens using Fable, Claude's latest model. And but I had set aside an additional budget just in case Claude needed it in order to do the work that I was doing. And that's another model that I think works. I have controls in place. I'm okay losing, $20 on the side. You don't need to ask me. But when it comes to using efficient payments, I do just want to top up with small amounts that I don't really care about losing. But I would care about a full banking connection where I can pull from my bank account and spend whatever at once. That's the types of controls that, I need to have those controls in place, so it's not making irresponsible decisions.
That would be a funny stunt, though, I have to say. It's somebody out there should allow AI to dress them every day for a year and see what happens. Just completely probabilistic. You have to wear whatever AI tells you to. So if you're in patent leather shoes and swim trunks one day, because we all know that AI hallucinates sometimes. That would be pretty funny.
I think that's a great idea. I would definitely follow that account on Instagram if it was
that would be really funny. And the thing is, we have to do some stuff like that, because we have to get people to understand. Like, I feel like our tech overlords, the oligarchs running our tech world, big AI, has done a very poor job of making people feel like this is empowering technology. So I love use cases that put people in the driver's seat so they can understand how this empowers your life. I mean, this is ultimately a cognition multiplying element. Like that. That's how I look at it. You take synthetic cognition, add it to your own decision-making tree, and you've got an extension of yourself in some ways. And I agree with Dylan wholeheartedly. Not fully independent. That's not where we are, and I'm not sure that's ever necessarily desirable unless we want Skynet. But empowering us, I love that. It's absolutely. I'm good friends with LLMs on that note. So let's go back over to Dylan. If a human says, find me the trade or manage this position, how much autonomy should the agent have before the human needs to approve the next move? That's a very important question. How do you set that up? We agreed that there should be a human check and or balance. When does that kick in the decision-making tree?
This was a fundamental question that our team asked themselves at the very beginning of when we were building out the platform. And it was, well, okay, what do we do? Like if, because a lot of people feel like there's quite a promise to agentic AI plus finance and financial instrumentation, right? And it's subsumed under this phrase agentic finance nowadays. And I think that that's probably true. There's a big opportunity there. For us, the answer was pretty clear and simple, which was any time value needs to move, anytime there's an execution of value, when it's in this context of trading or buying assets or converting, or maybe you're doing a new yield optimization strategy or something like that. Anything that's executable or executable as time goes on needs to be confirmed by the user. So if you say hey, do this trade, or you need to have the user plus the agent need to have a clear understanding. The understanding needs to be repeated back to the user, and the user needs to confirm that. And that operation is no different than if you were instructing your lawyer, or you were instructing your wealth manager, or you were instructing your doctor about what type of care that you needed to have happen.
Sure.
So this is we don't need to reinvent the wheel by any means. And in high stakes and potentially risky situations where the downside consequences, either high or fatal, this is what happens. We talk about what the expectation is, and then we confirm, and then the legal risk and the responsibility then falls back on the person who's instructing the doctor, lawyer, or the agentic AI.
It reminds me of really within any corporate structure, any purchase above a certain threshold is going to have to be approved by leadership. Does that imply that there are small enough purchases that you could see a situation where that they can make them independently? Because I can see the utility in that, especially if we've got microtransactions happening, but I can also see where that becomes a point that could be exploited.
I think that we have to just remember that what the value is for a human being, and the shopping experience is human beings like that, right? It depends on the shopping experience, but typically we like that. Sometimes we want to evade that when it's rote or monotonous, or we just don't want to go to Costco this week and we don't want to have to remember the list. Certainly there could be the option of having some guardrails imposed, or I have a $2,000 grocery budget, never exceed this. If it gets to 1,500 by week 3, please notify me, and here's the list. And and you can right now I think you could probably automate all of that with Claude, with an open call instantiation, I assume. And that you can do that, right? And that's, I think that's okay. That's fine.
I was just thinking to myself, I mean, it's a little bit of a tangent, but I shop at Sam's Club, and Sam's Club has this thing that's essentially part forklift and part lift to get you up to the really high shelves if you're a worker there, that they run obviously that they're running by remote, obviously. So there's a human user somewhere on the other side. And those things are kind of menaces, because they sort of go through the store like Wall-E from the movie Wall-E, not really running you over necessarily, but you can tell there's a human running them, and not always with an equal amount of consideration for shoppers. I was just imagining a world in which you could actually have manifested AI literally going and doing your shopping for you. Those are the fanciful kind of things I'm sure people are going to be thinking of in very short order. I'm sure somebody's working on already, if I'm completely honest. Now let's go back over to Jesse. If agents start paying for data, compute, APIs, or services in these microtransactions, what is likely to break first? Liquidity, routing, fraud controls, user experience, or trust?
Well, I think it might just come down to trust, because I mean, in a completely open ecosystem, we're going to have to index everything, and then there needs to be some type of rating system. If I'm going to be paying ahead of time, well, how do I know that the output is going to be valuable? And right now, the way that we do that is we evaluate ratings for going to a new restaurant, etc. But for everything else, you do need to have the infrastructure in place. And when in our liquidity marketplace, we're already seeing agents make purchases for payment infrastructure, and they're doing it autonomously.
Right.
So they're maintaining the ability to receive payments and send payments, and it's just automated management. I don't want to have to think about how my Visa payment terminal is still operating.
Right.
I just kind of want it to fix itself. And now we have agents that are fixing that problem for us.
If it's happening automatically, though, doesn't it create the opportunity for scammers probably also using AI to spoof the conditions that causes the bot to transact, and therefore trick the bot into expecting money?
It's a great point, and if it was on someone else's system like that, that is a risk. However, for Lightning Network payments, which is what we work on, the conditions are private to each individual user. Everyone's running their own server, their own node, and nobody else knows the conditions that is in there. And really, it's pulling data from your own server. So everybody else has very limited insight or ability to influence those conditions. But it's great. It's a great point.
Now, again, with the everyone running their own node kind of thing, you remind me of my decentralized show from last week. We had Tufi on. I think you've been on with Tufi before, haven't you, Jesse?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He's great, but he loves that idea. That's something he talks about volubly whenever it comes up. The idea of people having independence at a node level. Folks at home, I mean, it's deep. It sounds deeper in the weeds than maybe you really want to go. But believe me, we do not want big AI to own us and own our data on the level that social media ended up owning our data. That's a bad formula for us. So these are things we really want to build into the system to give us that level of independence. Dylan, going back to you, Kuvi sits closer to the user decision layer. What does an agent need from payment infrastructure so that it can act intelligently without becoming a dangerous little money gremlin?
Sorry. What is it? Sorry, what does it need from the user? Or
mention gremlins and then everything goes to pieces.
Thing threw me off.
How do we what kind of guardrails do we need to put around the AI infrastructure so that it can act intelligently when transacting, without the possibility for it to be very easily tricked? I can't say we can ever make it impossible, but we could do our humble best. Or just when we speak, anybody who speaks to LLMs regularly knows that they occasionally just hallucinate. So how do we guard against that?
Yeah, I think for us at least, I don't know about other like PMFs or use cases, but for us at least, it kind of goes back again to the confirmation of the intent by the user. So if there's something like if they're building a daemon in our platform, and there's like multiple dependencies and multiple triggers, it's going to repeat them back to you. Right. I think this kind of reminds me of like the genie in the bottle paradox, right? Or it's not a paradox, but it's kind of like a conceit, right? You can say, hey, I want to be, or King Midas, like I want to be super rich and anything I touch is gold, like including my daughter and all the food, and I starve to death, right? So you need to, if you are defining things, you do need to have like a pretty good sense of what is what the actions and what is going to happen. We break that down pretty deterministically. So if it's like, hey, Kuvi, if Elon tweets about Doge, like I want you to buy X amount of USDC and sell it back to stables when it's 10% higher. If you think about what is Doge, does the user mean Department of Governmental Efficiency, or do they mean Dogecoin?
Sure.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And so these are considerations that actually sit outside of the edge case of the LLM, because it is an ambiguous question. It could be both. So actually, we do have. That's why like testing is really important, right? Back testing and testing and going through a lot of different. So we've been supplying it with a lot of data and a lot of questions, and we have a lot of users prompting a million different things. Over time, I think that we get to a level of accuracy, and that it's just not even an issue, right? Some of these edge cases, similar to like how in the beginning it's like, holy crap, I would never let a computer drive my car on the road. And, that's back in like 2014.
Sure.
And now, 10 years later, where we've seen people are just like with their hands folded in the cars, right? And the reason why is because there's just so much training data. I think that that's going to be the same for a lot of these use cases in agentic finance. And so we just get to a level of accuracy where people feel very, very comfortable, and the possibility of something terrible happening goes down to approaching zero asymptotically. Like,
definitely. Of course, frankly, maybe I'm just being a Luddite here, but I'm not super anxious to have AI, run my car for me. That makes me nervous. I think I'd sit there white knuckling it the whole time.
I have trouble with it too. I mean, the first time I tried it, I was like, and then I was just like, I realized that I'm just a much worse driver personally than the AI is.
Really?
Because like after doing a lot of self-driving in my car over the past like 8 years, anytime I had it off, I almost got into accidents. Anytime I had it on, I was fine. Like nothing happened.
You've really made the transformation. You're living your truth here with this AI thing.
But that also may be due to me just like my comparison may not be good because I just might be a terrible driver. So
it's just for me, of course, I'm going to compare it to LLMs. So that's most of the time that I'm interacting with AI directly that I'm aware of. And to me, it's like the problem is that they're wonderfully accurate and give great responses, except when they don't, and then they're completely wrong. So I'm nervous about porting that over to operating a vehicle. I've heard of them getting confused on doing circles or intersections because they are confused in the way they read the lines, for example. But anyway, it's not about that, but that is it's something that makes even though I'm Gen X, I'm not a boomer, but it makes me feel like kind of a boomer. But that stuff makes me nervous. Going back over to Jesse. Payment rails, of course, already exist. We got lots of them. We've got credit cards. We got ACH, RTP, PayPal, Swift messaging, crypto networks. Of course, I like Wise, TransferWise. Their fees are really good. What do crypto rails actually do better for agentic AI than any existing system?
Yeah, I think we've been focused on paying robots a lot in this conversation, but what it really enables is the robots to pay you. And what we're seeing is more and more people are getting connected to the Lightning Network. And so right now there's over 900 million people that are already capable of using it. And 59 million are using Cash App in the US. So if you want to run a business and get connected to the consumer economy in the US, well, here's where you get set up with these payment rails. And it's also positioning you for the future where agents are able to make buying decisions and pay you or your business whatever you spin up. Like, it's about getting connected to the economy and removing as many barriers to participating as possible.
Right.
I'm not crazy about paying robots, but I would love to serve the machine economy with any of our products and services with real world goods, not just digital goods, not just trading, but I want to make an impact on people's lives. And using automation to do that really just helps everyone.
Right. Right. Absolutely. One more question for you, Dylan. If we're having these bots make all of these choices relatively independently about, what to buy and under what conditions, we establish parameters for them. Without getting into kind of a training question, a problem, who is deciding? Like in the example, was it Jesse who had it buying clothes, or was it you had it buying clothes? I forget which one of you did.
Jesse.
You had it. Jesse was buying clothes. That's a good example, right? If I wanted to subtly put my thumb on the scale and have you not necessarily know it, I could just have it prioritize Amazon responses, for example. When you do the search, and then I could sell that to Amazon depending on what kind of distribution I have. I essentially sell product placement within my Agentic AI. How are we making those decisions right now? And how do we make sure that the information that you're getting, when it's making these decisions is balanced and neutral?
I think this is I hope we have a few minutes because I think this is an extremely important topic, and it's the top of the iceberg of a very extremely important topic, which is like, how free is this technology, right? In general, like how free is the technology of LLMs, agentic AI? When you're using ChatGPT, and I'm going to give like a very provocative example, but I don't want you to like react to it so much, but just take it. So if like I want to kill my boss, and I want you to tell me how I can kill my boss and how I could get away with it, how I could get away with this murder. And now obviously
you have to tell ChatGPT that you're writing a story before you ask it this question, or else it's going to bounce you to the guardrail side.
This is getting to a bit of like the heart of the issue, though. It's like, is this free, right? Is this truly free? If I used a very provocative example, but I mean, you want this to be a tool for you. You want it to be a killer, right? Hopefully this is usually in a very figurative way, be a killer, right? You want it to do exactly what you want it to do. You want the best information. You want any information. It's free, right? Like, and so this is like a question: if people are controlling it, right? Or if and I think for blockchain guys like ourselves, this should be very germane to kind of like hold, right? Which is like, I don't know if I want this to be so centralized, right? And this is why I'm a big proponent of, even though I do use most of the models, I'm a big proponent of like Venice, right? And I think that this technology should be free, and you should be able to ask it any question. You should be able to answer it. So I think that the best users of this technology will probably be running like local things, and they're gonna, and like if you buy a gun, like it's a technology, right? Like, are you gonna use it for? Is the government gonna say like, you can't ever use this to shoot people? Just so you know, if you ever try to shoot a person, we're gonna click the gun off. Well, maybe I hope I'm not being too provocative, but I'm just trying to drive home the point that like, it's a good question, because who is sitting behind like how these things are built? I think. And
yeah, sure. Prioritizing
and who is telling us what we can do with them.
Mm-hmm.
Right?
Sure. And that's a matter of sure independence of the user. And that is something absolutely to consider in terms of training data and in terms of how it retrieves data for you. But also from just a capitalist point of view, again, to extend my metaphor, if Smith and Wesson has a sponsorship with the bot, with the LLM that I use to create this bot that you're using or what have you, it's going to show you. It's going to show you, those guns, for example, because they'll have a higher prioritization. How do we balance that? Because that can appear to be freedom of choice, but can become the antithesis of freedom of choice.
I'd love to hear from Jesse if he's got any ideas. I don't want to opine by myself.
It's a great point because really we don't know what is the data set that any of these models were trained on. We have these metrics that we say, this is the most intelligent model that we have available, but we really don't know the embedded data that went into training these models. We don't know about the biases of the model creators that may be embedded in the system, and it's providing recommendations. The only control that we have is really the human in the loop. Can I externally validate this from the community? How has this worked for other people? And kind of we're back to like a review system. Just how much credibility do each of these models create? And really, do we have reproducible code to ensure that the models aren't changing and kind of rugging us and changing how the thing operates and introducing biases later? I think it's using the exact same technology that we've been building on, like in the blockchain space, for a long time. And I think we're better equipped now to be able to handle it using proofs, using digital signatures, using the community around us to help validate any of these decisions that now computers are making so accessible to us. And it's becoming more and more ingrained in our lives. So very important issue. A very provocative example that you chose here, but overall, it makes a good point. There's embedded decision making that is happening inside these AIs, and we really don't have a lot of insight into it.
Well, and even if the developers go in consciously trying to favor a balanced and neutral assessment of available options. It reminds me, since I was there for 1999 working in tech when the first internet bubble, first internet boom happened. I watched the search engines compete with one another. I have a friend who was able to game Google and show up the number one listing for SEO in the APAC region, and basically built himself a 100-person agency virtually overnight by doing that, right? This is back when it was possible to game the system like that. So I wonder if we're going to run into the same situation, or if they're going to use the prioritization that comes from search engines. It gets very complicated, actually. I don't know that I have a clean answer for that either, but it'll be fascinating to see where it goes. Well, we're going to go ahead and wrap it up in just the next few minutes. But let's go ahead and just do a speedy question real quick. I'll start with you, Jesse. What's one way in which people are going to be able to use AI in the next 5 years that they're maybe not expecting, and another way that they're going to be using AI, whether they like it or not?
Well, I think we're going to see a growing trend of decentralization. So any of these decentralized AI tools, individuals can create their own tools that are specialized. For example, when I'm finding podcast clips of my favorite podcasters, I can use a tool that now pays another tool to do that exact function and pulls the clips exactly talking about what I want to talk about to help make my point. And I think we're going to see more and more of that, of really agents paying each other. And I also really want to get people equipped with the ability to start receiving payments in whatever currency they want, either it's US dollar stables or with Bitcoin. That is really something that people need to be prepared for. And that's what we're all about at Amboss.
Right. Excellent. What about you, Dylan? What's one way in which we'll be using AI, or it will be available to us for something we may not be expecting, and another way in which we're going to be using AI, even if we are staunchly opposed to AI, but we're using the internet and so forth?
I think that I think that we're probably going to have AI become more of the fabric of our lives. So we're going to start to have like deductions about the world and about our place in it, and understandings about the world that are more AI based than credibly maybe neutral based on like a Google search. Like it's a little like, or I'm trying to think of how to put this, but essentially like AI itself, it's almost like a hack. It's like when you type something and then it comes up with like the last sentence, but it's just on such a massive scale. And Jesse was talking about like the biases associated with its training data, which, we don't really have a good handle on that, but we do basically know that the bulk of the training data and sorry, this is a speed round, is based on like, like late 90s to like, to 2020 or something like that. Right. So, I think that it's hard to say, like, I think that like the way we think about and know about the world is going to kind of like subtly shift as time goes on. Because people are going to be looking at this like an oracle and it knows best, right? In a little bit of a different way than maybe they consult Google. I think that's something that's very kind of, it's hard for me to articulate probably well, but
sure.
That's
we're letting AI do more of the sorting though, more of the prioritization. Hopefully based on lateral training, with it having a better understanding with you, as the AI that you're interacting with. Those are really my two big wishes. One is decentralization, so that we don't end up with the Facebook dynamic, users who are used and abused by big tech companies or Skynet. Decentralization of control, bad. But the other thing is more control, essentially. But okay, just 30 seconds, then we're going to go ahead and wrap up. Jesse, you first. Where should people find out more about what Amboss is doing?
You can always find us at amboss.tech, amboss.tech, and it's all about owning your payments. So if you want to start accepting USD or BTC, we now have stablecoins that move over the Lightning Network, and we're the first ones out there. Very excited to help equip people with the ability to get connected to the machine economy.
Wonderful. Dylan, how about you? Where should people learn more?
For ourselves, you can just check us out on Twitter at Kuvi Labs, or navigate to our website. We usually do regular updates there as well. That's just www.kuvi.ai. I don't know if I shouldn't have said www. That kind of ages me.
That's
Kuvi.ai.
Okay. I won't tell you. No problem, guys. Thank you so much. It's great that I've had you on my Spaces shows a number of times before. You were on my Roxon TV show when I was doing that. So I appreciate you coming out for our new When Alt season and Block Leaders show. And look forward to you coming back. Thank you so much for joining me today, guys.
Thank you.
It was a pleasure, Justin.
Thanks, guys. All right. So let me just go ahead and,